3, 2, 1, and we're live. Vicent, nice to meet you in person.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Good to have you here in Berlin. If someone meets you at a house party and then it's the first time they actually meet you in person, they know a little bit about your music. How would you describe what you do and your music?
Oh, I can make different stuff, but I would say what's the common thread between all the things I did the last years, I would say, would be some kind of disco-inspired music, electronic. Lately, really focus more on synthesizers, but still with some organic elements, whether it be vocals or percussion. So yes, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And would you associate your music with Italo disco, nu disco?
Yeah, of course, all form of disco, I would say, of even soul music or funk, this kind of music with harmonies and chords. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And super interesting for me because it's a genre that I started getting closer to in the last maybe 12 to 14 months. And I've seen there is a huge return of like the genre. It's something that I think started in 77 with Donna Summer, I Feel Love. And now I see a lot of people from France, from Mexico, from Berlin, sometimes also from Italy, producers who are making more of this music. For you, has this been always like the music that you liked producing, or it's something that developed in the last years?
That's something I like to do and I still like to do, but I feel like I also do different stuff, and I will still do different stuff. And yeah, I think there's always sound of the moment, and with different genres, maybe there will be one or two tracks that really work a lot and everyone gets interested in it. But yeah, for myself, I've always liked all form of disco, whether it's Italo disco or like classic disco. So yeah, but I would say it's nice to have this kind of influences and mix it with other stuff, not just like replicate exactly the sound of something that was already made.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I want to talk about your inspirations and influences. So are there artists that are current now or past, like they don't produce anymore perhaps, that you feel very influenced by?
Kraftwerk, yeah.
Kraftwerk, yeah, wow.
I mean, really like about the electronic music in general. That's really what gives me the impulsion to go from playing more guitar and instrument to going to play with synthesizer and recording music on a computer. When I saw the power of these four men on a scene, it was raining and they were doing almost nothing, and people were dancing in the rain, just listening to that. And with the visual, we had like the big screen with all the visuals, and yeah, that's something that really inspired me at the time. And the ability of making everything on a computer for not much money, not having a lot of equipment, and being free of needing someone else to help you. And yeah,
it's a huge thing. We're very lucky we live in this time.
Yeah, of course.
You seem to have a lot of association or inspiration from visual stuff. I read in a previous interview that La Louvière, which is like where you live, you get a lot of inspiration from the suburbs of the city.
Yeah, maybe not about well, yeah, of course, everyone, I think, where you live, what you see does inform what you do in any form of art or activity. But when I think I was talking about that, I was more referring to the boredom of being in a city where there is not that much stuff to do. And when, you know, it's a bit a gray city, it's a bit like Berlin, rainy a lot, and I think it does inform you the style of music you do. If I was maybe in California near the beach, I would do something else maybe. Yeah.
Would you describe your music, or at least most of your music, as melancholic? Or
I do think so. Yeah, bittersweet, man. Yeah, even.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you spend a lot of time by yourself? Do you enjoy spending time by yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel it in the music?
For me, a lot of your music actually feels very happy.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
there is the melancholy, but it's more ends on a high note. Like I remember, I think I came across Personal Numbness, of course, of
Yeah.
yours. There is another song that is called It Ain't Me. I think you made a remix of that. It's not one of the
Okay.
original. And then there is few others that, like, for me, is like very energizing music.
Yeah, yeah, but I think you can be melancholic or bittersweet with still some energy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I wouldn't necessarily say that, for example, it's very melancholic. Like
Yeah.
the first thing that comes to mind with your music is the energizing part,
Okay,
and almost like the happiness, the joy of life.
nice.
Maybe because I come from techno.
Yeah,
For me,
maybe.
this is still very bright.
From you, it's really happy music.
Yeah, exactly. It's very happy music. It's probably true. And I heard also, like, in a previous interview that, like, around you, you're surrounded by people who tend to be artists that make different kind of music, or are the other arts. Are your friends mostly into visual arts, music, or other kind?
I would say music, but I mean, I guess that's almost in all cities. If you have friends in Berlin, there is also you might have a group of friends that are also into music, and also when you're younger, you tend to gravitate toward people that are like you or have the same interest as you. So yeah, at some point we have this group of friends when we started going to clubs and discovering electronic music. So yeah, in that sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And do you feel that this supports you, for example, in your career, because you have people that understand you?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
Okay, so let me phrase it in another way. For example, are there ever moments where you feel self-doubt? For example, like, what the fuck am I doing?
Always.
Yeah.
I think that's important to have it.
Yeah.
I think the best moment is when you get to that point where you can be critical and judge yourself and not being too self-confident.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do have a lot of self-doubt, and I think that's really healthy to have that.
It pushes you to improve.
Yeah, and not to be just happy to do something, because if you're just happy about whatever you do, it's hard to do anything good in a way, because you just like everything you do.
Yeah, you don't create something new.
Yeah,
or
you
different.
have to adopt yourself, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And do you spend regularly time with your friends who make music? Do you make music together?
No, not really.
No. So you just end up like choosing them because, I mean, they were friends.
Yeah.
Same interest, but for you the music is kind of a lone journey.
Yeah. I didn't. Most of the people I've been collaborating with through the years were more people I didn't met in person, and more people we would send each other stems and things like that. But I rarely worked with people in the same room in that sense.
Very
Collaborating that way.
Do you think it's a choice or it just happened?
Yeah, I think it just happened, but also I feel like the way I'm working, which is doing a lot of stuff that is not interesting, and just sometimes there is one or two things that I like, it's hard to collaborate because you don't know when the, let's say, magic happen, because there is a lot of moments where the magic doesn't happen. So being in a studio with someone might be a bit complicated, and I think, I'm just mostly working alone in general.
Interesting. And in terms of creative process, are there moments where you feel stuck?
Yeah, always. Yeah, always.
It's the game.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know if some people have this gift of never being stuck or always being in the creative flow. That's great for them, but I think that's part of it, to be sometimes stuck, to have the blank page syndrome, and not knowing what you want to do, not knowing how to elaborate an idea that you had.
Yeah. Do you do anything about it? Do you have some sort of tools that Vicente uses?
What I do is not forcing it. So if I have an idea that I like, but I don't know how to arrange it and develop it, I wouldn't force it. I would do something else, and that would be the thing. I don't need to be inspired to make like an idea. I can do an idea without being inspired, just trying a new synthesizer, trying a new drum machine, trying things without any pressure. giving myself 2 hours to make something, and if that's good, nice, and if not, I just maybe learn a new thing, or maybe I can use one of the melody I did for some other thing. So yeah, what I would do if I don't have any ideas is just do something, try something, because there is more chance of doing something interesting by doing so, rather than just not doing anything and being stuck on something.
Yeah. So it makes sense. So you keep going independently from inspiration, or
yeah, and I would work on something that inspired me at the moment. If I don't feel like doing a new idea, maybe I can revisit some stuff I'm working on at the moment and see if I can improve the arrangement, or if I can improve the mix, or maybe if I can feel, well, yes, this time I won't just do drums, so I would do a session doing just drum groove. So I would do what inspired me at the moment.
Yeah.
And that would be a better idea, rather than forcing you into doing something that you don't want to do, don't feel inspired.
Yeah, and so I guess you end up having at the same time a lot of tracks that are finished or almost finished. Do you work in terms of projects? For example, you think about your tracks as an EP, and then you work on that?
Kind of. Well, it depends if it's for my label, because if it's for my label, I'm the only one to decide what would be an EP or not. But if it's for other label, I would first think about maybe 4 tracks that I think could work together, or at least 4 tracks that I like, and then we would decide together, I guess, which ones I think would do something cohesive, and what they want to sign or not, or if they want maybe something else because maybe they think it lacks something.
Yeah. So basically, it's a trial and error. You test also with the label owner or yourself. Yeah. Until you.
And the thing with my own label is I don't really think that much in terms of bigger medium. I wouldn't doing like a 4-track EP. At the moment, it's more doing singles and maybe another track. So it's more shorter format.
Yeah.
So it's not like thinking about doing a full EP or full LP with a story or something like that. It's more doing small singles or stuff that I want to release at the moment.
What's the thinking behind that? Are you thinking because it's easier to promote it, or it's just because that's what you feel at the moment?
Because sometimes I have a track I want to release and that's just it. So I don't want to just put other track with it for the sake of it if I just have one track that can be released. And now the way platforms work, you can just release one song from time to time. And if you have a label, maybe it's harder to release just single because they have some agenda and they need to have maybe more track. So they wouldn't do just singles. But if you're on your own, you can do whatever you want. So if you have a track you want to release and you have like a gap between other releases, why not doing it at that time?
I think it makes a lot of sense. And do you look at numbers? For example, like you release a track on your own. Do you check the stats of how the track is doing on Spotify or Bandcamp or the stores?
Yeah, of course, because I want to know how much I will earn at that point and if I get paid correctly from the other people. But at the same time, it's not looking at the numbers to know, oh yes, this thing is working, this is not working. I don't look at that in that way at all, because you never know. And sometimes you might have a track that let's say doesn't work, as we can say, but then 2 years after it works because it gets the license for a compilation, and then suddenly it works. So I'm not watching numbers to see, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do, or that's not the right thing to do. It's just to see, oh yeah, that's nice. I'm happy. I have some people listening to that one, and I know, how much it work or not. But and also out of curiosity, it's nice to see. If people like what you do, and you have so much tools now to analyze and know things, but at the same time, you can really get stuck in it and getting obsessed with it. But I'm not into that, and as I said, it doesn't make any sense because sometimes you have some track that doesn't make so much traction at the time, and 2 years after, suddenly because someone played it or someone licensed it suddenly it goes higher. So
it's super interesting. Do you ever feel you want to look more, or you want to have more attention? For example, a track that, my question is more, let's say there's a track that for you really means something. You're super happy with it. It's expressing something you have. You release it, and then for whatever reason, it doesn't get attention. Do you find yourself in this situation? And
yeah, it happened. Yeah. Also, of course, yeah. I have examples of track. I was thinking, I really like the melody. I was thinking this one is really special, and it doesn't seem I was the only one thinking that way, and that's okay. I don't stress these things too much. As I say, maybe 3 years after it get licensed for whatever series or compilation, and suddenly get more stream. Or you never know why some stuff works and some doesn't. So I don't get. Sometimes you doesn't. The other way around happens. You don't think that much about a track, and that's the one that everyone talks to you about. Like the personal numbness, I didn't really thought about it in a way that was the one most people would talk to me about, and it ended up like that. So never know.
You seem not to have so much pressure in what people think about your music. Right? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Well, I think I already put pressure on what I think about it. Yeah. And you can really have control on what people will think about it. So, and you never know. It's really something subjective. Sometimes you release the same track on a label or another label, people will judge it differently because maybe one label seems a bit cooler than the other one. So, I don't put pressure on what people think in that way. Yeah.
Is that something that comes natural to you?
Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I'm really touched when people come to me saying that track is special to them. It's not that I don't care. That's not the case at all. I really do care that people like my music. And when people are telling me that they like one or the other track, or even more that some tracks are really special to them, that really means a lot to me. But at the same time, I can't really force people if they don't like it. And I would make another track tomorrow.
I think it's super useful, especially if you're an artist and you're creating stuff that there's no rule why that should work. You never know what works, what doesn't work. But also, it's almost like you're shifting the importance to, it doesn't have to work. You're doing that for you, right? It's beautiful. And again, another thing that I read in another interview was you saw on a vending machine, you have to play until you won. Tell us a story.
Okay. So there is this vending machine close to a snack restaurant, close to my house, where there is some toys, and it says in French, "Tant que tu n'as pas gagné, tu joues." So the thing is, what it really says is you can still play until you have won, so you can have the toy. But there is no punctuation, so it could also mean you have to play until you have won, which is funny. And the way it kind of inform what I do is I do play with the instrument and with the ideas until I have something that I like, but I do it in a way that it's playing and not putting pressure. Like I need to do a great track, and most of the track I liked that I did and I'm still happy with are the one where I didn't think about anything and I was trying to do something special. It's never the track when I think, I'm gonna do this crazy symphony. That's never the one that ends up being good, because that's not, at least to me, that's not how it works with me. But also always the ones where I'm just playing, not thinking much about doing anything, just trying something new, a new synth, a new technique I learn, something like that. So the idea is, I play until I'm kind of happy with something and not putting too much pressure on it.
Got it. So basically, for you it's almost like a game and you want to play at it.
Having fun, because it has to be fun. You play music first and foremost to have fun, and because that's something that you love doing. So if you start thinking about putting pressure on yourself, I need to make this crazy track, and at least to me, I mean, for some people it might work differently, but to me that's how it seems.
And it's interesting. So for you, winning is being satisfied with.
Yeah. Not winning any prize. Or
Yeah.
and
No, any toys.
No, no toys.
So interesting. And so let's talk about for example, your gigs when you DJ.
Yeah.
How do you select tracks that end up in your sets?
First is I would do maybe a folder with some possible tracks, and I would think about what time slot it is, what kind of night, what kind of event. If it's more warm-up, like a 3-hour warm-up, I would play maybe longer track and maybe slower. And if it's 1 hour festival, I would play maybe faster track and with more high energy. If it's like between 2 techno acts, play at 1:35. So yeah, and also then I have this folder. But the thing is, most of the time I would not play because I have all these folders that can add up, and then most of the time I don't play that much of that folder. I do some, but then I have this maybe connection. You play something and you think, oh yeah, maybe it sounds in your head like something else. It could be maybe nice to have this track. So you can go to find this other track that you played that is in maybe another folder older. And sometimes you just don't know what to play. You can go to all the folder. You have some track that you didn't thought about and you think, oh yeah, that could be nice to have this. And you can always adjust. Sometimes, oh, let's play a bit more slow disco, or let's play maybe harder. So yeah.
Do you tend to prepare a playlist, or like the set is prepared? Or
No, it's like a folder with a lot of track, and just knowing a bit what the tracks are doing, what are the function in a way. If this is a track that is really long and loopy that I can play a long time with another track, or is this maybe a track that is more really short with a lot of melodies from the start, so maybe I need to find something in the beginning on another track that is more instrumental, or maybe more like drum filled, so I can do both. Or maybe I want to have this track that is a bit special, where the music shut down at some point. I know this, so it's like more knowing the function and the effect a track can have, and having also maybe the idea of the speed, if you use playing different kind of speed, and also maybe the length, stuff like that. And then sometimes you're surprised, you think you're playing something and that's not the one you wanted to, but yeah.
And when you're DJing, do you look at the audience a lot, or you're more in your?
Depends, not a lot. Because I'm trying to think about what to play next. And I don't want to make too much eye contact. But I try to watch a little bit if like everyone is pointing at me. Because I play, not, I'm joking, but trying to see the reaction of the crowd with what you play, a little bit, if you seem to be on the good way, or maybe if you have to take a U-turn and go another direction.
Yeah, makes sense. So you had a bit of feedback to sense the... And how do for example, when you're preparing a folder for a DJ set, how do your track fit in this folder? Do you keep them separate from other artists, your own tracks? Or
no.
All together?
No, sometimes I have a folder with just my tracks. If at some point I want to, because I still play some older track of mine. From time to time, and but I mix it in the same folder. It's more folders that are based upon time. So I would have a folder for January till March 2024.
Okay. So you have like these 3 months, and then you have all the tracks you've been playing and hearing at that time.
And sometimes I would put some older track that I used to play, and I would think about it, or I would hear it again, and I would think, oh yeah, that was fun. I could play it again. It would mix, because sometimes there is track that you liked 7 years ago, and you realize it really perfectly match what you play at the moment. So that's also nice to put 1 or 2 of these your personal forgotten gems.
Yeah. It's interesting. And do you, for example, talking about forgotten gems, are there tracks from your past that you feel right now connected with? And is there any particular track that for you is very meaningful of your discography?
Yeah, I talked like about this one just before, but personal numbness, because that's one people are still talking about when they message me. And this one is a bit special also because you were talking about the melancholy, and I don't know if this one has that, but I remember doing it. It was really during the pandemic and full lockdown, and I remember really the moment of it being a bit, I don't know, a strange time for everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, being a bit more remote from other people.
Yeah.
And I think you can kind of feel it in the music. So yeah, I would say this one. And also, yeah, I didn't expect that much about it, and that's nice to see people still talking about it sometime. And
yeah. And so personal numbness, the title is related to how you were feeling in the moment.
yeah.
Yeah. So you felt kind of distance or numb to emotions?
Yeah, the thing is, the vocal in the track says, I want you to feel nothing. And saying personal numbness was a way to be clear about not wanting someone else to feel nothing, but about talking about yourself. I don't want anyone to feel nothing, to be a bit dark. So doing the personal thing was to be clear about the intention.
Okay, it was more like for yourself, like to...
Yeah.
And that's also the track that you did a masterclass from Sound, and that's the track you break down on your show.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about the production process around that track?
Yeah, but when breaking down the track for the masterclass, I was surprised by, it's been a few years now already, I think maybe 3 years. And it's nice to see how your techniques and production ways evolve. And also about the sheer amount of stems and tracks and instruments in that track. And I was, sometimes I do like too much and you try too much to do a lot of stuff. And this one was really simple in terms of number of elements and also the arrangement. Sometimes you try to do really, you try to be clever, trying to do arrangement with a lot of, different parts. And that one I remember really trying just really basic introduction, breakdown, hook, breakdown, hook, outro, really simple. And I thought, this is working like that, so should I try to complicate it just for the sake of it, if it just work like that? Or, and I ended up just keeping it like that.
Very interesting. Do you tend to use the same process across different tracks, or you always experiment something new?
For that one, for example, I have these 3 plugins that I use on the vocals that I never used again, and these were plugins that I had for free with a magazine. I took a plane sometime. I bought the magazine, and you had a code to download 3 plugins, and I guess sometime I was bored. I download the plugins and just I tried something with it to see how it worked, and I think that's how the vocals were made. And then I never used it ever again. But yeah, usually I do have some kind of process that I use at some point, and that would stay for a bit. For example, now I'm into more all the replicas of Roland drum machine, and I would always start a track with some kind of drums made out of a 909 or 808, which is not really original, but that's kind of the early process of tracks now, because I know I can do everything even on the keyboard. And so there is always also I've at the moment love all digital pianos, so I would make a few tracks with digital pianos.
Okay. So you experiment also a bit.
Always try to have new things in it. And also I think sometimes when you doesn't feel inspired,
Yeah.
trying a new synthesizer, a new plugin, a new drum machine can really be inspiring because
Yeah.
you learn something new and you feel excited just to learn something, and
Yeah.
that can be really inspiring.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned before as well is like you just start playing with something,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then the inspiration
exactly.
comes after.
Yeah.
And there's another thing that you said in an interview, which is I try to remember what I've already chosen in the future.
Okay.
Do you remember specifically this thing?
Yeah. I was trying to be funny, but the idea is, there is something kind of true about it. Is there is so much choices to be made. It's like infinite now. You can have an infinite number of instruments, infinite number of tracks, and so you have to make choices at some point. And sometimes it's like to be decisive, you have to think, okay, I already made that choice. What did I choose in the future?
Yeah.
If you get what I mean. But yeah, and it was also referring to the linearity of time. But yeah,
I'm interested. So, for example, you made a choice now, and then you imagine yourself in the future?
no, not really. But if you think that time maybe already exists, everything at the same time, and the perception of time as a human is like linear from one way to another.
Yeah.
If we don't think in that way that everything already happened,
Yeah.
that means that you already in some alternate future you already made a choice about it. So you have just to remember what you already chose.
So it's the rest of how I was thinking. So you need to fish from the future self to understand what choice you should make. So because now I understand it much better, because then.
But that was trying to be funny when I said it. That was.
Makes sense. Do you believe in, for example, like in alternative version of the future, or you think there is one version?
I think I am not sure, but I do like the idea of alternate universe and alternate version of future. Yeah.
But then in the case, you would have multiple choices.
Yeah.
Any choice takes you to different.
Yeah, but you can try to remember which one was the best.
Yeah, true. In theory,
you have to look in the numbers of
Yeah.
the statistic from the future.
To optimize all the time.
Yeah.
And so one thing is you work a lot with vocals, and do you tend to do you work with singers, songwriters, and you ask them?
I did in the past a lot. These days I do record a lot myself. And I used to. I still love to use vocals, and I will still do. It's part of being, like I was referring to Kraftwerk, but like Kraftwerk have a lot of vocals, and Kraftwerk is at the beginning more some sort of pop group, like first more experimental psychedelic, I would say, and then a bit pop, electronic pop. So I think that's also come from that kind of love for this music that are electronics, but also have some sense of like a song, like the one Personal Numbness. I feel like it could be listened to not just as a club track, but also more like a song with a bit of not chorus verse chorus, but still like a song structure in a way.
Yeah. And for example, when you work with your voice, you clearly write. Do you think? You feel you write lyrics in a traditional way, or it's more samples?
No, it's lyrics, but it's often not that much. It could be a sentence or a few words, and most of the time, as I'm not English is not my first language. I would say what would matter to me at first, if I'm singing in English, or saying things in English, would be the sound of the words. If there is S's, and so would be first maybe the melody of what I want to do with the vocals, and then maybe how I want it to sound more in for the sibilance and the sound of the words more than maybe the sense in the first time. And then sometimes you just hear something and you think about something. It's like a bit automatic thinking.
Okay. So sometimes you just jam with it.
Yeah.
Okay. And for example, are there, when you look at your tracks, and you see, for example, when someone asks you for a remix, how do you think about that process compared to your tracks? Is that different at all?
Yeah. When I have to do remixes most of the time, at the moment, what I do is try to replicate what would be the track if I had done it myself. So using what my current tropes are, so maybe as I said, digital pianos, maybe 909s, maybe some sequenced bass line, some acid melodic stuff. Using this stuff that I used in my track, I would have done the remixed track, and then starting from there, I would just develop it as it was my own in a way, and do some part longer, do some other part shorter, and see how I feel. And also, you start from something, and maybe you have an idea, and from that idea you go somewhere else, and at the end it will be maybe really different, but you go from one place to another, which is a bit closer, and yeah.
Okay, very interesting. So it's almost like, you want to make it your production.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. But I think that's why people would ask you to do a remix. It's to have like your take on. It's a bit. I see it a bit like a collaboration track that I would have made with the person, because you have those stems. I always try to use as much as I can. So I would rarely just use one vocal and that's it. And I would try to use it as much, use maybe the same chord changes, and trying to be respectful of the original too.
Yeah, while also giving your input.
Yeah.
And let's talk about labels. So you release on many labels lately: Correspondent, Pets Recording, Eon. What makes a good label for you?
What makes a good label? People that do believe in your music, that can give you good feedback, and that's people that seem to be nice humans.
Yeah.
That's really important, yeah.
Not screwing you up.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, and also if the label releases music that I like, that's pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. And have you had experiences where, for example, you really felt the label helped you in your process?
Helped you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like recently, the track I released on Aeon, it was more an acid track, and I had a melody in it, but I wasn't sure about it. But I had problem about removing it, because when you do something, sometimes you get attached to it, and it's hard for you to remove something that you made. And also, it's something maybe general that I have is I don't like to have too much space, so I felt it was a bit naked without it. But I was still unsure about it, and I tried a few different versions with different sound for the melody, but I wasn't sure about it, and the label said maybe it doesn't need it, and that was true. Without it was way better. And so that's kind of the input you can have. Or Pets Recording, they told me maybe you can have more drums, but most of the time labels now in terms of production, it's like they would say we take that track and maybe this could be a bit faster and this could be a bit longer.
Yeah.
But they would not say, we make everything with different chords or something. It's most of the time really simple stuff, or they don't take the track.
Yeah.
And the one in Correspondent also I made it a bit faster, and I think it worked, because the faster the tempo thing is, I do a lot of the writing with a piano. And so you get stuck at some speed. It's hard to play like at 130 the piano. Yeah. So I would be stuck at some BPM and then not change it, because it's the faster I can play. And sometimes it works better at faster. But
Yeah, makes sense. And any things that the labels shouldn't do because they screw artists up? Anything in your experience that was a bad thing? We don't need to mention the name of the label, but something that didn't quite work for you as an artist.
Well, yeah. I mean, one thing that's I think a bit rude is when people tell you that they're gonna sign a track and doesn't get you in the answer afterward. Like you can't really answer everyone, that's for sure. But when you already said to someone, yeah, we're gonna release your track, and then they just don't answer you anymore, that's a bit strange. Or then you can have some shady things regarding to the royalties. I mean, the thing is, you are the one who makes the music, and sometimes it's a bit weird to have people earning more than you when you have the one who make everything artistic about it, and they are just selling your product.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, every kind of industry or every kind of world where people earn money from something, there will always be some shady thing happening sometime.
Yeah, of course, it makes sense. And last year you also started your own label, Signed Fast. And what led you to wanting to start the label?
So that's something I always wanted to do, as far as I remember when I first started making music, and even before, because in electronic music you have all these small independent labels. So when you get interested to electronic music, you discover all these small labels and you think, oh, why not doing myself? And what gave the really impulse is I had these 2 tracks that I wanted to release at some point, and I thought that these could be a nice one to release. And then I was in contact with my distributor, which is Paradise, here based in Berlin. And so that was I've been in touch with them, and they were like keen to work with me. And that was the impulse, and we've been on the phone and said, yeah, when do you want to do the first one? And that's how it started. Then I sent the first one to Franz Matthew and Boys Short, and they both told me that they were out to do remixes. So that was the perfect start for the label. Yeah. And so yeah, the idea for it is not to do a big label releasing a lot of stuff at the moment, a lot of artists, but just having an outlet to do some other stuff in between other labels, and maybe release my music, which is more a bit dreamy, melodic, that you can listen at home, and not for the like peak time rolling bass, more the like at home club music that you can play in your radio show, and you can listen in your car.
Yeah. Like you were saying, so now you have the creative freedom to say, I want to release a single.
Yeah.
This is ready.
Exactly, yeah. I have a gap in between releases. I have this track. I really liked it. The one I just released 1 month or 2 months ago. It was really like that, listening back to the track that I made in February, I think, and thinking, oh yeah, this one is nice. Why not releasing it? Yeah. And that's how it happened.
Do you feel you found your creative voice? Like you developed a creative voice that feels you're happy with?
I don't know. I think that's some infinite work to go to, but yeah, I wouldn't say I've found anything, because I would say it's finished. But no, I always try.
Yeah.
So I pursue.
Yeah.
That's my goal, but yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. And in a way, I think the label gives you a bit of creative freedom also to express it and put it out in the world. Yeah. Is there anything you do to find your audience, to connect more with people that might be your listeners? You mentioned briefly before we started that you, probably from Spotify, you saw that a lot of your audience is in Berlin.
Yeah.
Do you, I don't know, can be social media or something else? Do you engage with your audience in some way?
I do engage when people are talking to me, but if I'm being honest, I'm really not that good at social media and everything related. So yeah, I try to do my best, but that's not great.
I mean, it takes a lot of...
Yeah, and I
effort, yeah.
think also some people are just good at it and some are not, and I'm the later ones. And yeah, I have some people are more like easygoing in that sense of
Mhm.
putting themselves there and communicating on social. And even like if I didn't had an artist page, I'm not even sure I would have Instagram or if I
Mm.
would post anything. So
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Thinking about both your production and your DJing, your gigs, what has been an highlight of your path so far? Something you're really proud of that for you was meaningful?
mm, I'm really happy about the last single on Correspondent, the
Mhm.
one we released in August.
Which one is it? What's the name?
Young Narratives.
Okay, yeah, narratives. Okay.
Yeah, I was happy with it, and also the story behind it was nice because I had a computer crash in February, and I lost everything almost.
Wow.
Yeah, I just finished 2 EPs, so that was okay. I wasn't in between things, but I had to start anew,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it helped also the process of trying new things, and I was putting a new system together, and I was just one night trying to see if everything was working,
Mm-hmm.
and did some stuff, and that's how the track was made, and it was made in maybe 1 hour, and the day after I listened back to it and I liked it, and I thought, let's try not to overproduce it and just try to do a quick arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was happy to that was a label I really loved and I still love,
Mm-hmm.
and I was happy to have a track on the label, and how it happened after like losing all your project and
Yeah.
all your files.
Yeah, that sucks. Big
Yeah,
time.
but at the same time, I think it really improved my way of making music because I couldn't rely anymore on what I already done. I couldn't use the preset I'd made. I couldn't use the drums I had already cut.
Mm-hmm.
I was forced to just do with simple stuff, and the system was still pretty bare bones, so I didn't had a lot of things plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have a lot of limitation, it forces you to maybe a bit more creative, or you don't have too much things to fool around
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
So I think it has some good aspect to it, being losing everything in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's like it's a reset
Yeah.
and creative process. It forces you to
Yeah,
be more creative.
yeah, and try new things.
Yeah, yeah. Super interesting. And for example, what has been, do you think you've made mistakes in your career so far, both production or?
Yeah, of course,
Mm-hmm.
that's normal. And
Yeah.
don't think anyone could say they never made any mistake about anything.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And
That would be a bit strange.
unless I don't know, you're like a god, or
Yeah, maybe God.
maybe
And even him.
even then.
Oh yeah.
And then anything that for you, from like I was thinking about what you said about the computer crashed and you lost a lot of stuff. A lot of people can easily take the path of, oh shit, my life sucks, but for you it's like, okay, just like it's a challenge that helped me
Yeah.
improve my process.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm being more relaxed about it, but the week it happened, I wasn't so cool. I mean, yeah, it was a bit stressful on
Yeah.
when it first came, and yeah, I had the time to think about it. But now, yeah, I think I'm at least the same point I was just before in terms of having the project, and again, yeah, I just finished a few tracks, maybe 8 tracks were
Mhm.
sent to mastering and ready to go. And so the thing is, I didn't had that much project I was still into, that I thought, oh, yeah, that's a shame that I love these.
Mhm.
And also, I felt, in a way, I said it was a good thing because of that, but I was feeling a bit stuck doing the same thing, stuck in the same path, and
Mhm.
having the loss of the file. I felt you have to create new thing again, and I didn't had those drum sample, for example. So I had to start with the 909 from Ableton. So that's how I made a few tracks. So yeah, it forces you to go a bit a new path.
Yeah, and to start, maybe it's destiny.
Yeah, the future self.
The future self.
It's the future self who broke the computer.
Sending a signal, this has to be deleted. And do you know what drives you in life and in music? Like deep down, what is your motivation for doing this?
Oh, that's deep. I mean, I would say passion for sure. I'm really passionate about music, and I think I've always been. But yeah, I don't know. I really love making music.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. Inspiring conversation, and we're gonna go to the last part. I'm gonna ask you some quick questions. Would you rather play in front of 10,000 people that you don't know, you can't get to know because they go somewhere else after, or you're gonna play in front of 50 real friends or people that you know and you can get to spend time with?
50 strangers.
50 strangers. Mix of both. Okay, perfect. And one other question is, if you have an entire day, you cannot do music, you cannot do anything productive, how would you spend the day?
Well, it depends if the weather is good or not, but if it's good, maybe go out, do something, go watch a movie. If it's not, maybe stay home and watch a movie. Something like that, or I don't know, like basic stuff, read a book or play a bit of piano. No, it's music related, so not play piano, but yeah, watch a movie, watch some series, read a book, cook some food.
Relaxing.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one thing you are excited about the future projects?
I have 2 new remixes coming next week, which I'm really looking forward to. I have a new EP, a 4-track EP, coming. I don't know if it's not announced yet, but it's on Correspondent, so I'm really looking forward to that one too. So yeah, that's the 2 things I'm really looking forward to now.
Very cool. And then one last questions, it's 2. What is one question we should ask to the next guest without knowing who they're going to be?
Do you sometimes doubt yourself about really loving something, doing something and thinking, do I love it? Do I like it? Because sometimes you can get lost in your own feelings about things, and if that's the case, how do you know if you truly make something that you like, or if it's being influenced by some other factors? Maybe.
Very interesting, very deep as well.
Very deep. Yeah.
And I have 2 questions for you from previous guests. One is, how do you feel right now about your very first track? I
mean, that's as the one I told you, the personal numbness. When you listen to old track, it's always strange because sometimes you don't remember the way you used to work before, and also especially like the really old stuff, the first track you made, it's really naive. You don't have any technical knowledge. You don't have as much maybe confidence. Oh, maybe you do have the confidence because you don't know anything. And sometimes that's really like beautiful because you don't know anything, but you still are fresh about it and you're really passionate about it and you just learn things. So there is this naive and beginner thing that's nice. Even if there are like technical mistakes and things you wouldn't do differently. Now maybe you learn more how to set up a compressor and how to EQ things properly, but maybe you wouldn't think about putting 5 phasers and then a distortion. You know?
Yeah, that's true. And very last question is, what made you say yes to this interview? What made you be here today? In terms of like, what was it do you have a motivation, something you wanted to say, to express to the world that made you say, yes, I'm going to do the interview today?
What? Sorry, I don't get the question.
Yeah, the question is, why are you here today?
Oh, because I was looking forward to speak with you and being here with you.
Great. Thank you for being here. It's been a great interview.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you and to speak with you.
Thanks.
Nice, man.